You play chess completely the wrong way. How do I know that? Well, I have been doing that for many years until I truly understood this key thing that has changed my mindset completely, allowed me to win this game, the craziest game I have ever had in my life, as well as become an international master. It started with the move d4. I have played against a very strong Indian guy. Well, the first part of the game, I felt like he's playing 2800, like completely a machine. Maybe he's a cheater or something. By the end of the game, I was completely frustrated because the level of his game was so different in the beginning and in the end. And it's one of the most important lessons I have learned and want to share with you. But it's so crazy. Knight to f3, he played g6, and it started like the King's Indian. That's what I expected it to be. Bishop g7, bishop g2, and I thought, okay, he prepares something, because I really love this b3 line here as white. By the way, this is exactly the line I recommend in the 10-day opening mastery, my opening course where you can build an entire opening repertoire both for white and black in just 10 days and get a full month of live coaching with me for free, included in the program. So make sure to grab your limited spot. The link is in the description. You can read a lot of reviews there and start improving your chess today. So I thought I don't want to play against the computer here. So instead of that, I played the move c4. I thought, okay, let's play something new so that you are not so prepared, because he was making all of the moves immediately. But guess what? He didn't care. Even if I made a move that I basically never play normally, he still played c5 instantly here, trying to get me into the Benoni position. And after d5, he immediately played e6. Unfortunately, I couldn't really understand that I can just take on e6. Somehow in this situation it works because my bishop is already on g2, I can create some threats for him, and it's not so great. Instead, I went straight into his plan, into the Benoni defense. And this is something you should try to never do. Essential is to understand what your opponent is trying to achieve and stop that at all costs. At the same time, though, you have to continue achieving your goals. You have to develop all of your pieces, bring it to the game. You have to fight for the center. You have to make sure your king is safe. But it's essential not to allow your opponent to get the position he wants to get, because then he plays so strong and so fast. And this is exactly what happened. He took immediately on d5. That is very normal. And then he played the move rook to e8 again, all without thinking at all. I was literally thinking I'm playing against the machine, because he's not sitting on the board. I'm thinking about my moves. I'm trying to understand what he wants to achieve, what kind of a trick is that. And then I make my move, finally, like here, knight to d2, and he comes, just briefly looks at the position, instantly plays knight to d7, and he's gone. And I'm like sitting there, just trying to figure out what's going on, who am I playing against, why am I so miserable from the very beginning of the game, and how is supposed to go for it. But it gets so much worse. He just destroys me from the opening. Here is exactly how it happened. I played the move a4, he played a6, and I went h3. Well, I want to stop him from going there. It helps after my desired move, knight to c4. But he played here rook to b8, preparing a very typical Benoni idea to play the move b5 and create his counterplay. I'm saying, okay, let me stop it completely. I'm going to play a5, and at least you're not going to have your pawn on b5. So you can play it, but I'm going to take it. That was the entire point. I did, and he takes with the knight. He tries to create some problems for me in the center here. And here something crazy happens. For the next moves, he's jumping around with those knights, just basically shuffling it around the entire board, and every move is just a mystery for me. It was so crazy. So essentially, I wanted to create my counterplay. I thought, okay, he's playing here, so I have to go ahead and create some problems for him in the center. But it didn't work out, like, at all. He just plays queen to c7. It feels like he prepares the move c4. So I'm saying, okay, let me play queen to c2. And then after knight to d7, because he wants to play c4 and knight c5, I'm gonna play b3. Because I kind of want to stop that. If you give me one more tempo, I'm going to stop c4 completely. So this is your last chance. And this is exactly what he does. He plays the move c4. But then I'm saying, well, I have tricked you. I have anticipated that you want to play c4, so I played b4, stopping the knight c5 idea. But I was so wrong, because my opponent, again, absolutely immediately played the move knight with e5 and said, ha ha ha, well, guess what, you tricked yourself, because the knight is still coming to d3, and this diagonal is so open, my knight on c3 is vulnerable, my pawn on b4 is not defended, and I'm in total trouble. Like, if I would have had one chance here, like make a random move, play h6, and I would be able to play f4 and stop this knight from coming, then look at all of the black pieces. He's just not moving anything. He's not going forward. He cannot do anything. The position is great. But unfortunately, I'm just one tempo short. Chess is a tragedy of one tempo. And after knight e5, I realize I am strategically busted here, because once this knight is coming to d3, his bishop is so great, his knight is stopping all of my activity, and my entire position collapses. Yet it gets even worse. I play the move b5 because I'm like, okay, the pawn is weak anyway. I want to desperately create this counterplay. Without the counterplay, you're gonna lose regardless of what happens on the board. And I'm like, okay, you cannot really take it because then knight b5, I would be happy. But otherwise, your pawn is hanging, so you have to play rook a8 and at least make one passive move in this game. My opponent says, I don't care about the pawns. I came here to kill you. Knight to d3 anyway. Who cares about the pawn? It's all about the pawn's activity. And he continues making those countless knight moves. And every time I'm like, oh my god, now there is some kind of a trap, some kind of a fork is gonna happen and I'm gonna lose everything. And that was basically the case. So I took here on a6, and he's playing knight to b4 backwards, and I realized, okay, but now my knight is hanging from the bishop, my queen is hanging from the knight, and I basically have just one move to deal with the problems, play queen to b2. He plays knight takes a6, like this knight is coming from f6 to d7 to e5 to d3 to b4 to a6 back. He's basically winning because my knight is pinned, I cannot move, my queen is under attack, the discover checks are coming here, and this is absolutely hilarious. And I'm thinking like, I'm 150 rating points higher than my opponent, I'm playing as white, and they cannot even come out of the opening. I am just finding myself in what seems to be a completely losing position just after 20 moves. Can you imagine that? This is absolutely a horrible situation. But here it comes, the most important rule that I want to share with you that helped me to win this absolutely mind-blowing game and helped hundreds of my students to finally level up their chess and get to the point where they always wanted to be. You can beat everyone. You just have to never trust your opponent, always assume he can make a mistake, and no matter what happens, don't give up and try to find your chances to continue the game. I cannot overestimate how many games I could have lost. Like, all of the people would just resign there and say, well, there is nothing to do here. You cannot fight anymore. Yet I have saved those games. I've even won it from a completely impossible situation. So here I'm playing this move knight b d to b1. That was crazy. Like, I'm going backwards, but it felt like the only way to save my position. In fact, it wasn't even such a great move, but once I noticed it during the game, I was so relieved. I'm like, okay, we are gonna continue. Like, prove me that you can still beat me. And guess what? He continued his crazy knight's ways here. So first, he played knight to a4, attacking my queen twice, so there is nothing I can do here. I have to go away. I played queen to d2 so that I can avoid another knight to b4 attack. And instead of, like, I was expecting moves forwards, you know, creating some threats, he's going backwards again. Like, this second knight is starting to jump, and knight b3 is another threat. Again, very, very annoying. I played rook to a3 because I thought I'm avoiding the spin. and the knight is now protected, the rook is protected. The more vulnerable pieces you have, the higher the chances that you're going to miss something, you're going to blunder something and lose the game. So I'm like, okay, holding in. Now this knight on a6 is somehow weird, so it's not that simple. My opponent is trying to create even more threats. I mean, those Indian guys, normally they're just trying to crush you, like create as many threats as possible, which is actually the right strategy, right? But they're so good in terms of tactics, calculating the variations. So I thought, okay, I'm not gonna survive here for long. Then again, I'm thinking, well, this mindset in terms of I'm gonna lose anyway, it's not gonna help me. It's just not productive. So I'm looking for my chances. I'm thinking what kind of weaknesses my opponent has and how can I use that to my advantage? What kind of weaknesses do I have and how can I deal with it? Well, here I still haven't finished the development because I needed to make all of those defensive moves and my bishop on c1 is still doing nothing. So I'm like, wait a second, I can play queen to e2, which is creating a threat. It attacks the pawn on c4. If I can get rid of that pawn, I get much more freedom, and he has many less squares for his dirty stuff. So he plays knight d3. He wants to absolutely stop it. But then I'm like, okay, at least I can develop yet a new piece. Now my rook is connected to the knight, defending it. That is already, it felt at least like an improvement. He plays rook to b2. He still goes forward, he still creates those threats, but I can also develop my stuff. I play here knight to d2, and I noticed that, okay, pretty much all of my pieces are developed now. Only this rook is left, and it might not be so bad for me. And then my opponent makes something truly incredible. Like, up to now, he made all of those moves extremely strong, at least it felt that way. He's just destroyed me, and now suddenly he plays rook to c2, and I'm like, that's weird. First of all, you generally don't want to move a lot of moves with the same piece. You want to bring more of those to create like all of those threats together, using all of your pieces together. But this move rook to c2 actually gives me access to this b file, because I was dreaming about this move knight to b5 for such a long time. It's like this fresh air that I finally get after so many days in prison. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. I understand you're a machine, but you know what? If I'm able to develop all of my pieces, if I get to create my own threats, then we are going to talk completely different. This is what happened. He played queen to b8. It's not even the best move according to the engine, but it's not about the engine. It's about creating those problems for the opponent. And I suddenly start to feel more optimistic. I feel that, okay, maybe my opponent is not such a 2800s machine as I initially thought. I mean, after all, he is not so famous in the entire world for crushing everybody. His name is not even Gukesh, so I should be able to play normally against him. Here, for the first time in the game, he actually thinks for a long time, which also gives me another boost of confidence, because, you know, when the opponent just comes and makes all of the moves instantly, you cannot feel that confident, and also if those moves are so strong. But here, after a long thought, he takes on e4, which is also not that great of a move. And I'm like, okay, there should be a way. It's now just time for me to create some threats. I have finally brought all of my pieces into the game. And when that is the case, you should immediately start thinking, how can I create problems for my opponent? I was choosing here between rook to a4 and rook to a5. It's really subtle difference, not that easy to understand. Rook a4 felt a little bit more logical to me. But in every case, I create some problems. I attack this pawn, which, I mean, he has to do something about. And he plays knight a to b4. This knight was not doing anything there, so it's time to activate it. My knight is hanging now on b5, so I play knight to a3. That is pinning this knight on b4 and attacking the rook. He immediately plays rook to a2. And I'm like, okay, this is my chance. I'm gonna sacrifice the exchange now, because this is the opportunity to get the freedom and finally to be in the driver's seat. Remember, the material, pieces and pawns that you have in chess, it's just your resources to get to the main goal, which is to give a checkmate, right? You shouldn't be too attached to it. I still make this mistake so often, and I try to learn otherwise, but it's really tough, like to sacrifice the pawn, the exchange, the piece without this clarity of what's gonna happen next is so terrifying. But you have to learn it. You have to just tell yourself, okay, the most important thing is actually to make it tough for my opponent, to make his life as miserable as possible. And if I can use my material to achieve that goal, well, that's exactly the point. So I'm sacrificing here. Rook takes b4. You might be wondering, what is this magic board I use in my videos? It's called Chess Not Evo. And I enjoy it so much, I have it for a year now. It completely transformed the way I play chess and I train chess, because I can play both on Chess and chess.com online, but on a real board. It's a completely different experience and I enjoy it a lot. I haven't had any major issues, and that's my favorite product from Chessnut, because I have everything in one place. I have my books here, I have my studies here, I have my games, but they have so many different products according to your needs and your budget. The best part is, of course, you can use the link in the description as well as the promo code journeytograndmaster to get a big discount on all Chessnut products. Now, back to video. He takes with the knight. Now I had a choice of how I want to sacrifice it, whether I want to play knight takes c4, but then this bishop a6 and the queen was pretty annoying, even though it turns out it's actually great for me. But I was happy to take with the queen, as now I am attacking the knight and the rook, basically forcing him to take the knight. He doesn't really have anything else. But now I take rook takes b4, and even though I'm an exchange down, I don't even have any pawns for it, just yet. But look at all of my pieces. First of all, his queen is hanging, all of that happens with the tempo, which is always nice. And secondly, after this move knight takes e4, like just compare this position to what I had like 10 moves ago when I played knight to b1 and all of my pieces were backwards. I had just the first 3 ranks for all of it. And now I'm going forward. Who cares that I am an exchange down? I am the one creating threats. I'm in the driver's seat. And that is the most important thing that I wasn't understanding for years. And hopefully you can save all of that time and immediately use it in your very next game. Knight takes c4. I'm making this move and I really feel happy about this position. By the way, I played this game in Munich, very strong tournament. Not only those Indian guys who are crazy tough, but also a lot of grandmasters are participating. I was happy to be able to take part there. Big thanks to organizers for making it possible. My opponent plays queen to a6. And here I want you to pause the video for a second, try to calculate the variations. It's going to be so instructive for you, and figure out what is actually the best way for white to continue. I hope you took your time, because it's worth it. The right move is queen to c7. And unfortunately, I haven't played it. I was going to say, okay, I don't care, I'm in time trouble, but I feel that queen c7 is the best move, so let's go for it. Unfortunately, I was, again, too afraid of my opponent's opportunities here. Rook a1 check, king h2, and queen to e2. That was, like, until I have thought I have found this threat, it was all fine. But once I have seen that after queen to e2, he's threatening queen a1 and queen g1 checkmate, I was really not sure about it. In fact, it turns out this position is great for me. I have multiple good moves like knight to g5, knight takes d6, and then this rook is free to go. Everything is actually great. But in the moment, you have this fear of missing something really important, especially if you are in a time trouble, especially if you are playing against the Indian guy who is very good at those sharp things, tactical situation. I just wanted to simplify stuff, so I went to the endgame. The problem with that is I make it simpler not only for myself, but also for my opponent. I didn't know, of course, that the craziest part of the game is still ahead of me. I mean, this game costed me so much stress, so much nerves. It was absolutely horrendous. He took with the rook, defending the d6 pawn, but I'm like, okay, doesn't matter. I'm gonna just attack it once more and you cannot defend it. Then suddenly he started to create those tricks again, and I was terrified that I'm gonna just lose everything. So here after bishop to d7, I took the pawn. I said, okay, this is my extra pawn. I have now 2 pawns for the exchange. That cannot be bad. But here it comes. He plays rook to e1 check. I go king to h2 and then bishop f8. And suddenly my knight is under attack, the g5 is coming, and I'm like, okay, am I gonna lose now? But then I start to calculate the lines and actually think like, wait a second, why on earth should I be worried about losing here? You're not gonna trick me this time. I am doing great here. I have all of my pieces active, my rook is amazing, pinning that bishop, and after g5, it feels for a second that I'm in trouble, but actually I have bishop to d2, attacking this rook so you don't have time to take my knight, and if you attack my bishop, I have knight e4. And okay, he played rook a1 instead, but that's exactly the same. Knight to e4, everything is protected. The knight is always great in the center, controlling everything. And I feel like, okay, I have only 3 minutes on the clock, it's really tough, but I have really good chances to win this game. And remember where I have started, thinking that there is no hope at all, but I never give up until I actually have 0 ways to continue the game. So please remember it next time when you are gonna get a very tough position to handle, it's always possible to get back. Bishop f5, here I missed an incredible opportunity for myself. He wants to play rook to a8 and just exchange my powerful rook there. And I had an amazing d6 move, just opening up my bishop, activating yet another piece, making rook a8 not possible because I'm gonna play knight f6 and win that rook. Unfortunately, I haven't played it, and also this pawn is moving. I mean, this is absolutely great. Instead, I was thinking kind of primitive here, the g5 pawn is hanging, so let me take it. Seems like taking with the bishop is more reasonable, so that's what I did. But that allows this move rook to e8. I was kind of panicking, not understanding what's going on here. Cannot give him a checkmate, at least not immediately. So I played rook b7, but then he plays rook 1 to a7, actually pushing me into exchanging the rooks. Yeah, I could have stayed along the diagonal somehow, but yeah, anyway, I took the rook and we got ourselves in this endgame. And still it seems much better for me, but without time, it's so difficult to navigate all of the nuances because he does have an extra exchange. After all, those bishops are very powerful. If I'm not careful, I might even get into trouble, even though right now I have full 3 pawns for the exchange. So obviously I have to play for the win. So I'm trying. I play bishop to e3, he goes rook a6, I play g4, trying to say, okay, you can take it, and finally we are gonna simplify it to something that I can easily understand. He says, no exchanges for you, mister, I'm gonna play bishop to g6, and I'm like, okay, I know the very important rule in the endgame, make sure your king is active, so I'm playing king to g3, but now bishop f7. And this is the crazy moment that happened here, because I played bishop d4, thinking that you cannot take it. He plays bishop g7, trying to challenge me along the diagonal and stopping that knight f6 check, which was my idea. I'm exchanging it. And now, that was actually relatively simple. I had a tremendous opportunity at this point. I could have just played d6. For some reason, I thought, no, that's not possible. He's going to play bishop d5, and then my knight is hanging. He's going to exchange it and then take the pawn on d6, and I'm never going to win that game. But I was so stupid. Actually, after d6 and bishop d5, I can just play d7, threatening to promote the pawn. He has to stop it, and then knight c5. I'm exchanging the bishops, and I'm in time with knight e6 or knight b7 to just promote my pawn. So that was an easy way, but instead, what happened next is incredible. I play knight g5. I just want to take this bishop maybe and get this position with 3 pawns for the exchange, which is very, very nice. But he plays bishop g8, and I'm like, well, he's about to play h6, and then there is no way I can save all of this, mainly the d5 pawn. So I'm playing h4, kind of tricking him, because now I play knight h3. He was so upset. He was like, oh, how could I have missed it? Now knight f4 is coming. But it turned out it's not really true, because he has rook a3 check, and we have repeated the position here, but essentially, I'm just not in time to defend the pawn. because I cannot play knight to f4, but if I play king to g3, there is this annoying check, rook a3, and I cannot conveniently handle it because bishop s3 runs, or f3 runs into bishop takes d5, and otherwise, I mean, king f4, he can take on d5 anyway, as my knight is hanging. So there is nothing I can do. I have to just give up that pawn. Rook a4, I played bishop to f3, and here he just goes rook to d4, grabs the pawn, and here we are in this endgame. It seems like it's absolutely impossible that I can actually win it. But guess what? That's exactly what happened. This crazy game, in the end of the day, where it felt like the draw is inevitable, had another huge turnaround. I went knight to f4. I decided, okay, there is no way I can lose this position, and I can jump around with my knight, I can try to push my pawns, and who knows, maybe I'm gonna succeed with that. So, doesn't matter if it seems like you are completely lost, or it seems like the draw is inevitable. Never give up. Always think that you have a chance. Never trust your opponent. This is the key lesson that I want you to take away. But how on earth is it possible to win it? I played f3. You do not need to be in a hurry. In such a position, just step by step, try to improve it. And this is what I tried to do. I played knight to d3, rook to d5. It's not that essential. We are jumping here and there. Sometimes it's essential just to, kind of get your opponent tired, so that he's like, okay, whatever, it doesn't matter what I'm moving here, it's a draw anyway. But this is exactly the dangerous mindset, because I use that to actually make some progress here. He played rook a4, I go h5 because I wanted to remaneuver my knight to f5, but it turns out it doesn't really help because his king is there. Of course, if I'm able to play f4, then I'm a happy camper. He's gonna go back and I'm gonna win a pawn and I'm winning. But his rook is not making it possible for me. And if I go backwards with the king, he's gonna move forward with the king and maybe even play for a win. Who knows? That might be a dangerous territory. So that's not the solution, I thought. He played here rook to d3. I went knight g7, just jumping back and forth, knight f5, king to g5, knight h4, rook goes back to a3, knight g2, and then I thought, okay, let me remaneuver my knight to e4. In the center of the board, I'm going to control a lot of squares, and that might actually help me. So that's what I'm doing, rook to b3, knight h3, rook a3, knight f2, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. He is not thinking, okay, what is my opponent's idea? He's thinking like, it's a draw no matter what. You never ever want to have such a mindset, because you tend to miss things. Here I played the move king to f4 in a situation where it's not possible to stop the move knight e4, check, and then at least I'm making this progress. He should have played king to e5 instead, just not allowing me this counterplay. So always think about your opponent. What is his idea, his dream, and his threat, and how you can stop it. The most important part starts now. He plays rook b4 check, I go knight e4. Well, he goes king e6, reasonable move, trying to not allow my king to go forward. And I'm thinking, okay, my only chance here to make any progress is to make the move g5. If I go backwards, he's gonna come forward with my king. This is nothing. So I go g5. Well, I think I have this pawn, and feel free to try to stop it. It's not that easy. At least I put pressure. This is all it's about in chess. Doesn't matter what the position is. You have to make it difficult for your opponent. He takes, I take it, and he's showing that even though his tactical vision is really good, he demonstrated it in the beginning of the game, his endgame skills are so much lower than that. Because he plays king to e5, and this is just fundamentally wrong. The valuation is still 0-0, it's a draw. But the king is needed to stop the pawns. You just cannot go in the opposite direction of this pawn coming forward, because you are going to lose. This is exactly what happens. I play the move h6, and here the engine is screaming, come on, you should immediately go backwards king to e6 and correct your mistake, and then it's still a draw, although I would argue more difficult. But he plays rook to b1, And this is the final mistake. At this point, it wasn't easy anymore to find the right move. He should have played rook b8, but it's not that intuitive, and I still have ways to make progress. But here it's over. I just play knight to f6, and I'm like, am I missing here something? Where is my blunder? Why? Because he does not show any emotion. That is, by the way, something I want to learn, because on my face you can always read whether I'm winning or I'm losing. This is not so great in chess. But he's like playing completely normal. I'm like, wait a second, but how actually are you gonna stop this pawn? I don't really have time to think because I'm constantly in time trouble. But the pawn is coming. He plays rook to h1. Probably his point was, if I play now knight to h5, he has rook g1. And then my king has to go backwards, and then he actually might even play for a win. It becomes dangerous. But of course, first, you always want to push the pawn, and that was the point. I play h7 first, and now I'm ready to play knight h5, regardless of what he does. He played king to e6, knight h5, and the pawn is unstoppable. And suddenly he just resigns without showing any emotions at all. And I'm like, that was the game of my life. Absolutely incredible. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Never give up. Never assume that your opponent knows everything and does not make mistakes. And always find ways to make life complicated for your opponent. That is the recipe to success. And by shifting your mindset like that, you immediately become much stronger in chess. If you want to build a complete lifetime opening repertoire, both for white and black, I have an amazing offer for you. My 10-day opening mastery course is now on sale. You get 50% off the normal price, and you get a full month of live coaching with me included, completely for free. I'm gonna analyze your games, I'm gonna play games with you. That is absolutely insane. Please take advantage of that and grab your limited spot. The link would be in the description. And if you want to learn more of what you get in this amazing course, in this playlist, I'm showing you the only opening you need to learn as white to crush absolutely everyone under 2000 ELO.